and that is Professor Jason Johns. He's from the Department of Ancient and History, Culture, Archaeology, and he's an assistant professor there. And apart from the various hats that Jason also wears, is also that he manages the MA courses in our PG departments, and he's very fond of mythology and also runs a certificate course in mythology. So today his lecture is going to be on deities and disease management, two case studies from mythology and literature. So today all our sessions, all our speakers from different disciplines have actually spoken on aspects relating to diseases and aspects relating to ecology. So Professor Jason's lecture will be continuing on that same vein. So over to you, Professor Jason, the screen is all yours. Thank you.
Good evening. Can I be heard?
Yes, Jason,
okay.
Absolutely.
Give me a second. I'll be sharing my screen. So
yes, the screen. Is everyone able to see the screen, please? Is everyone
able to see the screen?
Yeah, I think I can see it. I think it should be fine.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
All right.
Good evening. On the outset, I wish to thank Dr. Radha, Dr. Karuna, and the principal for this opportunity and platform. Greetings to all of you all on the occasion of Maharashtra Day as well as Labor Day. My topic for today is deities and diseases. This lecture will be focusing on the socio-cultural as well as... Hello? We'll be focusing on the historical, cultural, mythological, as well as the art, archaeological aspects of diseases as well as deities. The sketch for today will include what are diseases or illnesses in the Indian context, pandemics or epidemics, pestilences and plagues in the historical narrative of India with few examples. The case studies for today will include Shitla Mata via myth and ritual, and Buddha with the account of a pestilence which occurred in his lifetime. Now, going on to the concept of disease or illness. In the Indian context, we have multiple words and we'll examine few of them. The first is rogue. Now, amongst the four great sights that the Bodhisattva Gautam Siddharth saw before he became the Buddha, according to Buddhist literature, were these. The first is an old man, the second, a dead man, the third, a sick man, and the fourth, an ascetic.
Professor Jason, just a small request. Can you speak into the microphone? There are some
Sure. Yeah. The four great sights that Gautam Siddharth saw before he became the enlightened one was an old man, a dead person, a sick man, and a ascetic. Of course, he took asceticism and became the enlightened one, the Buddha. But we get the idea of a rogue Manusa or the sick person from Buddhist literature. Moving on, the concept of dosh. Dosh is basically affliction. Now, one of the afflictions can show symptoms in psychosomatic, in physical, as well as in the spiritual realms. One popular dosh is the Griha dosh, which can be cured via the Griha Shanti pujas, which we do for the spiritual welfare, specifically of devotees. The next is Badha. Now, if you remember the movie भूल भुलैया and you remember Asrani ji's dialogue, Radha ko badha hua hai Manjulika ka. That is, Manjulika had a badha or impediment of Manjulika. In that case, it is demonic possession, but it as part of Bhuta Vidya. Bhuta Vidya is one of the 8 branches of Ayurveda. One of the branch deals with demonic possessions along with others. I'll be talking about this later. Now, diseases or illnesses in the Indian context include the following. I've taken a literature review from Charaka Samhita and Shushruta Samhita, Ayurvedic text. The first is Angantu Jwar, bodily fever by external factors. Now, we know that COVID's one symptom is particularly fevers, and that too is caused by an external factor. The second is Bhuta Bishanga. Basically, according to Ayurveda and it's one of its 8 parts, that is Bhuta Vidya, it encompasses along with demonic possession and psychological illnesses, invisible factors or illnesses which could include microbiological factors or viral infections like the one that we are seeing today. The next is Aupsargika Roga, contagious disease. In this case, this disease that we have in today's day is also spreading via direct contact as well as through contaminated surfaces. The last is more important, Janapada Audvansaniya, basically the destroyer of people, Jana, and Pada, places. It can happen due to Dushita Vayu, air, Jala, water, Kala, time, and Desha, region. Now, the last two are specifically a holistic way of looking at it, whether you look at it from sustainable livelihoods, the sustainable government policies, etc., in today's day as well. Moving on, instances of outbreaks in the historical records, one of which I will be talking about is the pestilence or plague of Vaisali. Vaishali in modern day Bihar. The plague happened in the 6th century BC. The next is the leprosy or the social isolation, which happened in the case of lepers. It turned into social exclusion of the patients, and this we see in biblical and para-biblical literature, where these people, specifically of whichever category they belong to, were excluded from society. The next is Bombay Plague of 1896, which continued, and people did come out of such a situation, and crosses were placed by the Christian communities to commemorate the fact that they overcame the illness. Crosses are placed at places like Worli, Khotachiwadi, as well as Bandra, and the 1919 cholera epidemic, which happened in Bombay. Moving ahead, these are the crosses at Bandra. This is the cross at Khotachiwadi. The first case study is that of Shitla Mata or Shitla Devi. Now, belonging to the gamut or the section of plague deities, deities who give diseases or take away diseases, amongst which we have Ola Devi, Mariamman, Choti Devi, Raktavati, Ghenu Devta, as well as Shitla Mata. Shitla Mata is one which stands out. We'll be examining her antiquity, mythology, as well as the case study of the Shitla Mata temple at Mahim. I say Shitla Devi, you hear Mahim. Going ahead, this is a depiction of Shitla Devi. On the right is a miniature painting. On the left is calendar art, and you'll wonder, ये सच में देवी है कि नहीं? She is seated on a donkey. She is adorned with beautiful jewels. Sometimes she is holding a jhadu in her hand. Now you'll wonder which goddess is holding a jhadu in her hand. She also holds a dustpan, a pestle, as well as a water pot or a pot filled with pulses, and she's surrounded, as you can see, by birds or crows above. Now, from Puranic literature, specifically the Brahma Vaivarta Puran, Skanda Puran, oral tradition, as well as Thala Purans like the Sitla Mahatmyam, the goddess is said to be a Puranic deity, a demon, the fever demon called as Juar Asur. The fever demon started afflicting children with fever, specifically small children. And either the goddess's son, that is Ganesh, or her childhood friends were affected by fever. When this fever broke out, the goddess took the form of Shitla Devi, the cool one, and gave them Thandak. Shiva manifested as Bhairav and defeated the demon and made the demon Jwarasur her accomplice. Another story from Rajasthan, the city, the village called Dungri village in Rajasthan, Dungri village in Rajasthan. It is said that the goddess came down as an old lady in Dungri. There she searched for temples which would be dedicated to her. She went through the streets and could not find a temple. While she was crossing the streets, a person threw something from the floor above. In this case, it was boiling hot water after straining the rice. Unknowingly, it fell on the old lady who was the goddess, and the goddess got burnt and she had blisters. She went shouting through the street, "Hi, मैं मर गई, hi, मैं जल गई, बचाओ, बचाओ." And There she caught the attention of a potter girl, a Kumbharan. The Kumbharan took a pot of cool water and poured it on the goddess to soothe her burns and her pains. She took the goddess home and she made the old lady sit and offered her rabdi and dahi. She told the old lady, Mai, मैं आपके बाल बना देती हूँ. She started combing the goddess's hair and she realized that this is not an ordinary old lady. She has a third eye behind her head. The lady freaked out and she thought कि ये तो चुड़ैल तो नहीं है. And before everything went batshit crazy, the goddess manifested herself in her true form, decked with ornaments and beautiful garments, and said, Beti, मैं हूँ. The Kumbharan, the poor lady, was pleased and perplexed. Pleased because she got the darshan of a goddess. Perplexed as to इसे कहाँ बिठाऊं, इसके सिर पे बिठाऊं मैं उसको. So the goddess realized that the lady was freaked out and she sat on the donkey which was outside the Kumbharan or potter lady's house. She took into her hands the jhadu or the broom, the soup which is the dustpan, and the pestle which is used to grind masala, and the water pot which was used to sprinkle cool water onto her. And that is how we see the goddess. Going ahead, according to the commentary on verse 50 of the Saundarya Lahari, Vandeham Shitalam Devi Rasabhyam Digambaram. Praise and honor to Shitala Devi, the one who sometimes depicted as fully nude, Digambaram. Marjane Kalashopitam Shurpalak Alankrit Mastakam. You who hold a broom, sometimes made of neem leaves. Give me a second. You who hold a broom made of neem leaves, holding a brass pot in your hand, and whose head is adorned with a dustpan. This is a depiction from Modhera, 11th century temple. On the left is the depiction of Shitla Mata with the dustpan on her head. The right is a depiction of Jwarasur, her accomplice, with three heads. He is also accompanied with Raktavati, that is the blood fever goddess, Ghentu Devata, 64 fevers goddess, Ola Devi, Ola Bibi, the cholera deity, specifically in the Bengali context. This is the lower right, left image is that of the Dungri village in Rajasthan. The others are from other villages, specifically in Gurgaon, Haryana, and Bihar, which present the goddess as a lady with a large nose ring. More depictions. The upper left image is that of Bengali depictions of Shitla Mata. The lower right is from Palghar. The area of Palghar called as Kelve Mahim houses a goddess called as Shitla Devi, and this bears a good amount of resemblance to the Shitla Devi at Mahim. I say Shitla Devi, you hear Mahim. This is the goddess Shitla Devi or Shitla Mata at Mahim. The king called as Bhim Dev or Bimba Dev, as he came down from Gujarat with the community called as the Pathare Prabhu, established the goddess at Palghar. The city is named as Bombay after the particular king called as Bhim Dev. Now, as we in the Portuguese era, the goddess was shifted from Palghar, Kelve Mahim to Mahikavati, that is Mahim present day, and you see that the Mukhauta of the goddess is present. The goddess is worshipped with cool water from the well which is located within the complex. This is the complex on the right hand side, and the water is poured onto the goddess, collected and taken home for bathing of skin ailments. The goddess is offered coconuts and other vegetal offerings, but in the northern part of the subcontinent, she is offered the sacrifices of wild boar as well as goats. The temple above, which is shown on the upper left, is the actual temple of Shitla Devi. She is also accompanied by the Khokla Devi, that is the goddess of coughs. And very interestingly, the prasad which you get from Khokla Devi is sugar and ginger. This is an image of the Hindu Mahasabha leader worshipping Karuna as an avatar of God Vishnu. Is this how mythology is being written in current day scenario is a question which I pose to you. Going to the next case study, we are looking at Buddha and two suttas. Now, who is Buddha? Buddha, archaeologically and historically speaking, is a character from 6th century BC. He lived and taught in present-day North Central India. And I'm taking the two suttas, Ratana Sutta, the jewel discourse, Mangala Sutta, the discourse of highest blessing, that is the great Mangala, both from Khudak Nikaya, Sutta Pita. In the Ratana Sutta, the the prelude story is as this: the city of Vaishali Nagari or Vaisali Nagari, the capital of the Lichavis, got ridden with famine. Because of famine, the lower rung of society, specifically the farmers, etc., just like today, the lower economic strata of society, social strata of society were affected. They started dying. When they started dying, pestilence and evil spirits started roaming the lands of Vaishali. Concerned by this, people went to the Buddha and told him that the city is being empty, streets are no longer populated by people. And the Buddha, moved by compassion, started walking towards the city of Vaishali. As he moved to the city of Vaishali, it rained. As it rained, all the putrefying or the decaying corpses were washed away. The Buddha gave the jewel discourse, enumerating the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, the three Ratanas of Buddhism. After he gave this discourse, he told Ananda, his favorite disciple, take water from my bowl and sprinkle it on the land. As he sprinkled it on the land, the pestilence, the plague that took over the city of Vaishali, the demons, everything went away, and the city of Vaishali could be populated again. Going to the next, and there the Buddha gave the discourse once again. This is the stupa of Vaishali, the Ananda stupa with the Mauryan pillar, 3rd century Mauryan pillar besides it, and the Buddha stupa at Vaishali, from which the relics of the Buddha as well as northern black polished ware was recovered, dated to the 6th century BC from archaeological dating methods. Going to the next sutta, the Mangala Sutta, a holistic outlook to COVID management. I'm applying this Buddhist sutta to our situation. This is one of my favorite suttas, and I'll be going verse by verse in the next 10 minutes. The first verse is, just as we are today worried, we ask our parents ask our teachers, the teachers ask the principal asks the VC asks the government ki kya kar rahe COVID wala situation mein. Same way, many deities, many people were yearning for blessings for how to make the situation mangala, and they asked the Buddha, Bahudeva Manusaccha Mangalani Achintayum Akankamana Sotanam Bruhi Mangalam Uttamam, asking for how do we manage the situation, how do we manage our blessings. The first verse is one of my favorite verses. I'll chant it fully in Pali, then I'll go to the English. Asevana cha balanang cha panditanang cha sevana puja cha pujaneyanang etang mangalam uttamang. Not to associate yourself with foolish, but with the wise. Honor those who are worth honoring. In this case, the health workers, the sanitation workers, the essential workers, the governance, the police force, etc. And now there are two instructions. What are our instructions? These are our instructions. Avoid handshakes, cover your face, stop touching your face, eyes, nose, mouth. Avoid public gatherings, maintain a distance, social distancing. What comes to mind is also the Buddha in the form of the medicinal teacher, or the blue Buddha or medicinal Buddha, left depicted as a Thanka painting right in cave number 41 from Kanheri. Second verse is to reside in a suitable locality, to having done meritorious actions in the past, and to set oneself in the right course. This could be applied in the case of quarantine. Now you know that you tried your best, but still you show symptoms, you stay away, you maintain quarantine, you live in a separate locality. To have much learning, to be skillful in handicraft, well trained in discipline, and to be of good speech. This is the greatest blessing. Cultivating hobbies, whether it is cooking, whether it is cleaning your house, whether it is playing a musical instrument, whether it is taking up art, whether it is helping people. All of this requires a good amount of learning as well as a good amount of discipline. This could be taken up. To support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. We know that COVID is something which could affect people with predisposed medical condition as well as the elderly. That's how we could help the elderly within our community, within our homes.
Professor Jason, just a
Yes,
second. Just a second. Please kindly mute your speaker. Someone's speaker was on. Thank you so much. Continue.
sure. Yeah. The next is to be generous in giving, basically to express charity, to be righteous in conduct, and to help one's relative, to be blameless in action. This particular situation calls ourselves to be open in charity, to give our time, to give our effort, to give our energy, and sometimes even monetary or in kind to people who require us. We should not be the upper left picture, but we should extend our charity to the all living beings, whether it is animals, whether it is human beings. And these are pictures of COVID relief, specifically which is done within the city of Mumbai. To loathe more evil and to abstain from it, to refrain from intoxicants and to be steadfast in virtue. This is the greatest blessing. No 4 more shots now, please. You can currently stay at home. Going ahead, to be respectful, humble, contented, and grateful, and to listen to Dhamma in due occasions. This is the greatest blessing. Humility and conflict management is what is called for by this particular verse, and we should be grateful for the little things. Going from the previous talk of Professor Radhika, she mentioned that many of us are privileged to have internet connections and pakka houses. We also run our ACs and we use a blanket and we switch on the fan, while half of the population neither has a fan, neither has a blanket. So we should count our blessings in this situation and be humble rather than causing a conflict. We should be humble and resolve conflict. To be patient, to be obedient, and to associate with monks and have religious discussions on due occasion. This is calling for participating in fruitful discussions, either as webinars, lecture series, talking to experts, engaging in these fruitful discussions like we are doing today. Self-restraint, a holy and chaste life, the perception of four noble truths and realization of Nibbana. This is the great blessing. Now, many of us say, मेरे को पानी पूरी खाना है, मुझे movies देखना है, मुझे मोमो खाना है, मुझे hookup के लिए जाना है. We can keep this for a later time. A mind unruffled by the vagaries of fortune, from sorrows freed, from defilements cleansed, from fears liberated. This is the greatest blessing. We have to understand that everything is anicca, impermanent. This too shall pass. We do not have to fear. The ancients and the medieval people did overcome the plague situation, the epidemic situation. They came out changed. It calls for us to live a more sustainable, a more holistic life. Those who abide by this ever remain invincible in happiness established. These are the greater blessings. This calls for a better humanity, a sustainable, a holistic humanity, a holistic living after this particular lockdown is ended. So we can sit at home and save the world, or we could use physical distancing and do something positive to for ourselves, for people around us, and for the world at large. So here is saying dur se hi namaste. Thank you very much, and I can be contacted from the following address. I'll be taking questions.
Thank you, Professor Jason. That was a very animated lecture. It had a lot of points, and mythology is something where you can use that as a metaphor. But one particular point is even bringing in this entire element of the mother goddess and the local deities as
Yes,
a part of Jesus. I think that was a very interesting point, and I think most of us, it's a very visible kind of a situation that all of us will be seeing. Now, for one particular question, I think that's constantly coming across is how is mythology relevant to the present day? When you have actually looked at mythology and you're looking at diseases, first of all, how did you kind of try to relate the topic to the present day situation that we are actually enduring? Thank you.
most of
You can answer.
Can I answer? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Most of the ancients went through diseases, epidemics, illnesses which have been showing symptoms like today. Fever is not
Okay.
something which is different from today. Blood flowing out from orifices is not something, and death is not something which is different from the past today. So we are using mythology as a metaphor today. It can't be applied directly. There is a different healing technique which is still to be discovered. There are techniques which are used to manage the COVID symptoms. Certainly, immuno boosting techniques like consuming Ayurvedic products and yoga for holistic living is recommended. But of course, we have to follow doctor's instructions, and each of these illnesses have their specific healing methods, and we should adhere to them.
Lovely. One more question, Professor Jason, is Bhuta Bishanga, the term that you used. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Because the question is that related? Were you kind of relating that to microorganisms and diseases related to these factors? Thank
The
you.
way they mentioned Bhuta Bhishanga, basically mean Bhut is something which is invisible to us. Now, if the ancients were talking about something as part of Bhuta Vidya, they would be talking
Yeah.
about invisible illness, which could be something microorganism based, something like a viral infection, something which was vector borne, which could not be perceived via uh, bad water, bad air, or bad food. It could also mean mental health issues as well as a demonic possession sort of a case. Now, since the ancients were not very equipped with dealing with contagious illnesses, I think in our case we could equate Bhuta Vishanga also with illnesses which could have microbiological or virological causes, expanding the definition to today's date.
Oh, lovely. I think Professor Jason has also shared his email ID. So those of you who would like to write to him personally, you can definitely, write to him and he will respond. And also with some of the references you have used, even if that can be shared, I think that will be a great kind of a thing to happen. Now,
Definitely.
now my job is done. The moderator for this particular session. I think it was a very pleasurable job, and for me to actually, can I have all the videos of our speakers for today on, please? The videos, Dr. Sujata, Dr. Mansi, Dr. Rashmi, Professor Jason.